Mm-hmm. And there's David. He wanted to be in too. Hi, David.
Hi.
Can you show me your nose?
Mm.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Cranio Family Vlog. Today we are answering another question about craniosynostosis for Cranio Awareness Month here now in September. And we are answering the question, what are some common symptoms associated with cranio?
And we've kind of talked about this a little bit in one of the very first videos this month, but there's a lot of things that you can be on the look for besides just the fact that your child's head may be a different shape, or maybe doing this thing called towering where the forehead grows extremely tall. The biggest one that I think we keep coming across is increased intracranial pressure. And to briefly rehash what intracranial pressure is the space between your brain and your skull is filled with fluid. And as your brain moves around and as the skull expands with the brain's growth or with its movement, there's a level of intracranial pressure that is needed with that fluid to keep the brain in place and safe. When the intracranial pressure begins to rise, there's a long list of things that you can start to look for that may be exhibited in your child that may raise some warning signs. The biggest one is an unexplained headache. Yes, children fall all the time. There's also this crazy thing called allergies. We live in Virginia. We know about allergies all too well. But if your child starts complaining about a headache that just doesn't seem to make sense, and it's reoccurring, and it's in different places, and it's not in the normal place, it's not like behind the eyes or on the temples or right between the nose where the sinuses are, that might raise some concern, especially if it's more than 1 or 2 times. Another issue that is usually brought forward by increased intracranial pressure is either slurring of speech. So if your child suddenly acts drunk and there's a key on your liquor cabinet, there may be a problem there. That's something, again, to talk to your pediatrician about. And another one that I've seen more on social media than I have in medical journals that I've been reading is children want to keep their head down. Now, I don't just mean like put their head down on the table. I mean when they're crawling, their head is along the ground. They like to go into more of a headstand position when they should be upright and up and running around. Or when they get tired, they usually go to the ground and they go onto their knees and they put their head down. It has to do with the fact that your blood pressure does have a lot of factors in the pressure that's going on inside of your skull.
Another kind of going along those lines as well, especially if your child has crania that's just affected on one side. There will be a leaning or a tilting, whichever side tends to be heavier, and what's known as torticollis. It affects the neck muscles. And even though Zoe was actually affected bilaterally on both sides, she also had that, where she was leaning more onto one side. And so we did have a little bit of therapy with that. We're just kind of lengthening one side and stretching it out so that she would be able to have more of a level position for her head. And that's pretty common among cranio babies as well, you will notice, because the head is such a large percentage of the body anyway, and at that size it's so much. If it's off-center, it's very obvious to tell when they start moving around a little more, rolling or even crawling. Suddenly there's an off-centeredness within their head, and it affects their movement quite a bit.
A lot of these things, in fact all of them, are usually not things that you'll see just one time. It's when it's happening 2, 3, 4 times, you're noticing a pattern. And again, the best thing you can do for yourself and for your child is to reach out to your pediatrician, schedule an appointment, go in and talk to them about this. Let them know what's going on, because these signs and symptoms that we have listed could all be related to something that has nothing to do with cranio. It could be something minor, it could be something worse. You don't know, and our job as parents is to protect our little ones. So if you see these things, these are just things that we have noticed, not just with our child, but with other children of families who we are friends with who have a child with craniosynostosis, that we keep seeing brought up or talked about in discussion groups or on forums.
And when you think about syndromatic cranio, there are additional elements that you can be looking for as well. thinking about the definition of craniosynostosis, you're talking about the bones and early fusion of the bones, and this could also affect hands and feet in many cases with syndromes where the joints are fused at some level, or you even have additional digits. You have extra fingers and extra toes. Those are also pretty easy symptoms to look for that might be associated with a craniosynostosis related syndrome.
And with that, we spent the last few minutes talking about the signs and symptoms of craniosynostosis in most children, at least the ones that we've seen on social media. We didn't take a very direct medical approach, but we talked about things that we've seen with other families as well as our own child as she was growing up and developing. We also have our blog at craniofamilyblog.com, where we have more posts about parenting, about preparing to be parents, about just the awesomeness of having a child with craniosynostosis, and even ones related to the videos that we've been doing this month. And with that, we will see you tomorrow.
See you next time.